Hey, Deserving listeners, sister wives, let's watch and check it out.
Well,
And that what I need to do is just
we
just
had
need
a
to communicate.
previous earlier, at least 1 or 2 conversations where you told me the same thing. So that was the information I was working with. And this
Please
is the year.
do not communicate to my children for me, because you and I struggle enough to communicate. I'm afraid
What
that
was I
message will
supposed
get
to
mixed.
say?
Call Dad.
There's gonna.
Kody, you should call them. Yeah. Yeah.
It has just been hurt, AKA Robin.
So they're doing Christmas over there then?
I don't know what we're doing. I'm hoping that by some God-given miracle that you guys figure your stuff out. But at this point, yeah, I guess. If you were like Logan and Hunter, I made them hold hands and like walk around all day. I mean, until they work their crap out.
You're acting like you're not even culpable in this situation.
Culpable? For what? What?
Great question. Culpable for what? Now, I'm guessing he's going to say, because you're pitting the kids against me, which is not true.
Culpable for not having any respect for me about the COVID
What you were asking me to
rules.
choose between my children and you.
We've already been over this, but I think it would help if Janelle was more specific here. It would, I think, result in Kody not having a way out of this fight, because for her to say that, it's too ambiguous, which I get. But if I were in her shoes, I would say, okay, let's break this down. So you had very strict COVID precautions, which is fine, but those are your rules. You gave them to me. I communicated them to the kids. I really tried. You weren't there, but I really tried. It's on camera. I really tried to figure out a way to work it all out. And they were trying too. But Gabe has a girlfriend, or at least before Thanksgiving, and he also has a job, and he lives on his own. He needs to work. He needs to see his girlfriend. His girlfriend also has circumstances in her life that makes it so that she isn't completely isolated and quarantined at all times, the way that you want everyone to be. And I was really trying to figure out a way to make it work. He wasn't going to work and having a girlfriend out of defiance for you. It's hard. Not everyone has the ability to just work from home or to isolate themselves. There's choices that people have to make. It's not defiance. That's not what they're doing. You and your attitude and your rejection of them resulted in them getting hurt and getting angry and maybe scapegoating Robin. I don't know. But at the very least, they were hurt and they started to get a little lippy with you and behind your back, because they're young and they're hurt and they don't understand why you're so comprehensively rejecting them. So let's see what she says.
But you never even reinforced the rules. You never even said these are the things you should do. You actually belittled the stuff I was doing. I was keeping myself from being a
you
hypocrite.
did not even give us the rules till 2 weeks before Thanksgiving.
We've been talking about that for
You
so
did
long
not
before.
So that's a detail. But again, I probably would be no better than Janelle in the moment, because it's distressful and your brain stops working. But yeah, what she's saying is true. And what's surprising to me, because for a number of episodes we're hearing about the disparity between the COVID precautions, and then they were outside at the property or in someone's backyard, and he hands it out, and Janelle and Christine are looking at it and they're like, I didn't know this. And I'm thinking, it's months in the pandemic. You've been fighting about the rules this whole time, and he's never even told you what those rules were.
Give me those rules till 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. So from March until Thanksgiving, I had no rules.
Those were
No,
the
you didn't. You did too. That's not true.
Okay.
That's a blatant lie.
Wait.
It's not a lie, but it's not the full truth. He was communicating, but it wasn't specific. There were some specifics, like you need to be, we need to follow this guideline around. If you have any contact with, from the context, he was following that initial recommendation around quarantining for 2 weeks or something. Like I remember there was a time when if you traveled you would like if you were flying to Hawaii, you would fly to Hawaii and then you would quarantine in your hotel room for 2 weeks or 10 days, and then you could leave the hotel room, right? And he was trying to follow that with like 30 individuals, which is, I can't imagine that being possible logistically, just for all the things. So anyway, he was providing those specifics. Anyway, I don't think there's any possible avenue of working things out. It's more of just like me hoping that Janelle gets to say her piece and it will fall on deaf ears. In this moment, it's interesting though, because things are escalating, and Robin is like, whoa. Let's talk about this. Well, let's see what she says.
Wait, stop. Okay, just give it a
Sorry, I'm mad as hell because you know what? Everybody put the on me.
No.
And then when I finally get sick from COVID, that was a death-like experience.
Okay.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so the other hypothesis is that either this trauma began when Truly almost died, and he was just traumatized by that, and or because he felt blamed, or he was being partially blamed, maybe by Christine. He kind of referenced something like that. And that resulted in him being in a hyper vigilant state during the beginning of COVID, which we could imagine. And he was just looking for allies, and he had no way of communicating, and he had very bad ways of communicating. He had no ways of communicating healthily about it, because, if you just explain that to people, like, I'm freaking out because of that thing that happened, and I don't want it to happen again, so please, if he just, I think people would have been more than happy to validate him, but that's not what he said. He was talking about loyalty and patriarchy. Anyway, so this is in that camp. All the hypotheses, or at least a set of the hypotheses that I've put forth, they're all compatible, they're all potentially at play. So I don't know this, because it looks like he's becoming unbridled, and he's talking about that. So near death. What did he say?
Did too. That's not true.
Okay.
That's a blatant lie.
Wait, stop. Okay, just give it a
Sorry, I'm mad as hell because you know what? Everybody put the on me.
No.
And then when I finally get sick from COVID, that was a death-like experience.
Oh, I didn't hear him right the first time. So when I finally got COVID, it was a death-like experience. So one way of looking at this sort of behavior is that whenever someone is angry, they're actually hurt. So just as a thought experiment, if we switch his demeanor and his words to that camp, it kind of makes sense, right? That he says, I'm mad as hell or something. If he said, I'm really, really sad and hurt, it wouldn't mean that he was rational, but it would at least be a little bit more understandable, definitely more relatable and empathizable. But he would say, I'm just really hurt. When I got COVID, that was like a death-like experience for me, because when he did get COVID, I think he hoped that people would show a lot of care, but he didn't get that. Now, he had already alienated everybody. So even if they did care, which I'm guessing they did, they would guess, well, I shouldn't call him because he's just going to yell at me about something, who knows? Or he'll blame me for the fact that he has it. Or I'm angry because he has ruined our family for these precautions, and we think he's not even following the precautions because they have that stupid nanny come over, and they were talking about that. The whole nanny thing I was confused about, because he says that the nanny and her husband were very strict about COVID precautions, and if true, then the nanny thing isn't really an issue. But I don't. Even if that were true, I don't think that was communicated to the kids. So from the surface, it just seems like, so you're holding us to this high level of scrutiny while you and Robin aren't even following that scrutiny, and that is possible. But I didn't see that directly, and that would feel like a double standard, and it would feel like he just had an excuse to get rid of everyone. So let's follow what he's saying more here and see it through the hurt lens. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. And if you sign up, please use the link below, because that really helps us out. So it's summertime, y'all, and I don't know about you, but I always associate summer with vacation times and not working so much. And, I've been lately trying to establish a better work-life balance. So this summer, I'm definitely going to lower my work stress. When it comes to that sort of thing, we often think about summer vacations, but we don't always have time or energy for that sort of thing. So we might need more frequent, smaller things to do throughout the summer, right? Like going for a walk in the sun or checking in with your therapist. Well, a great place to find a therapist is at BetterHelp. If you're thinking of starting therapy, it's definitely worth giving a try. They have over 35,000 therapists with a wide variety of styles. And as the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. So unwind from work with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/Kirk. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Kirk.
Okay.
Oh, man. I sat here and just tried to get everybody to do it. I realized that you just can't run from it by now. But as I was trying to protect my family, what if one of my little ones had been where I was or where she was? Only what? What was it, 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, and I think I've said this before, but it's been a while, that another hypothesis is this terror of having a child die, which is absolutely, I mean, if you had kids at the beginning of the pandemic, you knew what that felt like. It was, because in the very beginning, it was told to us, because it was true, that it wasn't just people that are typically at risk of serious complications from a virus like the flu, meaning, elderly people or people with conditions who are older. Not that we should just say, well, big deal, because everybody matters, but the compulsion and the need to protect our children from harm is all encompassing, and it just felt completely out of our control at the beginning of the pandemic. So I'm sure all the parents in this family felt that way, and he could have particularly felt that way, right? And he has a lot of kids to watch after, and one could argue that his solution was, I need to get full control over this family to protect all the kids. And once that wasn't achievable for logistical reasons, normal reasons, understandable reasons, he coped with it by getting angry, by trying to really clamp down, but also he distanced himself from his kids physically and emotionally, but even in his own mind, as a way of coping with, like, this is just hypothesizing, but it's absolutely possible that this could happen, that he's going to bed at night, say a month into the pandemic, and he's just staring into the darkness, just terrified that one of his kids are going to get infected and possibly die or have serious long-term effects. And that in and of itself, because, the one thing that Sister Wife says is that he's a great father and he's very attentive. And a lot of the kids will say that too. Who knows? They might just be saying it. But I think there's a lot of evidence in that direction. So he is just terrified of one of the kids being harmed. Maybe he has some trauma around that. Maybe he had like a sibling or something that died, or when he was young, or I don't know. And he's like, but I've already been trying to get all my wives on the same page. We're not in the same house. And okay, I just need to be more emphatic. And he doesn't have a way to vulnerably talk about it the way that I've modeled before. So he's been modeled, and maybe he's going online in the red pill, or maybe he's talking to people in the AUB, or maybe he is remembering things that he heard about how men get control of their families. And he's just like, okay, I'm just going to demand loyalty. So he does that the next day. He gets a lot of pushback. There's more alienation. He goes to bed the next night. He's staring in the darkness. He's worried about his kids. There was a time, depending on who you were, but I was like this, where it just seemed inevitable that a percentage of the people that you loved were going to die soon. The way that it was going through the population and just the percentage of people that were dying in really horrific ways, it just seemed like we're not getting out of this unscathed. And many people didn't get out. I'm guessing a lot of you lost people to COVID. Just statistically, it's very likely that a lot of you lost people close to you, and or you yourself have long COVID, or someone that has long COVID, which is a thing. I mean, the science on it is, there's people that will claim they have long COVID when it's unclear because it's hard to determine that. But there's some strong evidence, that there were, and especially, anyway, you get my point. So for him, he goes to bed the next night and he's just like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? I'm panicking. I'm panicking. I'm panicking. I have no way to talk about this other than to get angry. And something just breaks in him. And he says, unconsciously, if I just forget that I have kids, or if I just consider the kids that I can't corral, that I can't protect, if I just consider them not my kids, and I just turn away from them and focus on the kids I do have control over, then the hypervigilance and the terror just goes away. I could see that happening. Oh. It doesn't justify what he's doing. He is a grown man. He has access to therapy. They have therapists available. He could have gone to those people. He could have talked about it. He didn't, and he's responsible for that. I think. I don't know that for sure, but I think. And that he is responsible for, but I don't know. That makes sense to me.
Same old, same old.
I cannot believe, I cannot believe that I have done all this to save you, to save Truly, to save my children. I did not know that it wouldn't harm them. I was trying to protect them, and I got...
Okay, so this could be all an act that he is exhibiting. If we go with that hypothesis that I've been talking about occasionally, that he just doesn't want to be married to everyone anymore, and he's planning to alienate, and he's like, oh, I could lean into this. It doesn't look like that, though, right? This looks spontaneous. This looks primal. This looks internal. This looks real. I don't know, but it has that look to it. There are times when he doesn't look authentic, and it would be hard to fake this, but not impossible. Anyway, so if we go with this is authentic and real, this is in line with what I was saying, right? Truly, and and he doesn't appear purely angry right now, right? He's starting to cry. He's desperate. He's hurt. He's powerless. He now, Janelle would be in the right to say, that doesn't make any sense and certainly doesn't justify what you did. That would be rational. But I don't know. As a therapist, I'll tell you, I see families suffering for reasons like this all the time, where the Janelles of the world have done nothing wrong, and the Kodys of the world originally had done nothing wrong, but without any way out of it because of their compounding traumas or lack of any kind of guidance or lack of privilege of therapy or toxic masculinity or something. It led them down a road where they're like this, and they're just destroying their lives and everyone's life around them. I don't know, it just kind of has that look, right?
Criticism from you and from my boys, the worst criticism, zero respect. You guys wonder why I'm mad? I've gone 18 months being persecuted by my own family for trying to protect them.
Does not leave.
My heart is broken.
Let's just
Christine
talk.
left because
Let's
of this.
Let's just.
So Robin's trying to calm things down. Yeah. So if we listen to what looks to be authentic, if we listen to the unbridled nature, I mean, I think with Christine, there was more of the long-term resentment, because Christine would complain often, and I'm guessing some of it was absolutely justified and maybe some of it wasn't, just normal. And I think he had suppressed a lot of, I don't know if it's anger, but a lot of himself, that he would push that aside for harmony's sake with Christine. And I think that was more, but maybe with Janelle, it's more this. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think part of it is I just need to stop yammering and just watch more.
keep talking even if it's intense.
I'm sorry. I just went
You and I
through
see
this.
it very differently, Kody. And it's not all my
Janelle,
fault.
You had
this is
flu-like
not
symptoms.
my fault.
I had the.
You're acting like this is my fault.
Yeah, Janelle is right. And he did say, I'm sorry. I think in a brief moment of awareness of like, I think I'm losing and I'm sorry. I think that's what happened. All right, well, that does it for that episode. Everyone out there, please, truly, take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.